Hello, my name is Emmanuel Pass, and I'll be going over. Hello, my name is Emmanuel Pass, and I'll be going over setting up the PrairieLearn remote server overview. So here's the higher level overview, and we are on currently step 2. And the video overview will contain sources of information, show the finished product diagram, and display steps to complete. And lastly, give background on what each step does and what it is for. So here are the sources we used for information: ISU ETG, PrairieLearn docs, PrairieLearn Slack, Docker docs, nginx docs, Google Cloud Oauth docs too. So here's the finished product diagram. We see on the left, we have the PrairieLearn server. We have the instructor interacting with the course, and the course is hosted on the server. Student interacting with the PrairieLearn server with either doing homeworks or exams, and the PrairieLearn server accessing the database, reading and writing just the student information, student data. And here to the right is a more detailed view of the PrairieLearn server. And just to go over it, I will head over to the diagram. So here, I'll start on this part. This is the local development machine, meaning, I apologize, I don't know how to work Zoom. Okay, so this is the local development machine. So this is just a developer working on VS Code and SSHing into this whole virtual machine that ETG gave to us. And here, this remote Git repo is just showing our GitLab, and it's getting pulled into the local Git repo into the virtual machine, and which contains the course too. And then I will go to this one. I apologize. This is weird. Okay, so here is the local Git pool, and we can see that the course is getting mounted through the Docker Compose file to the PrairieLearn Docker container through Docker. And then it is also the virtual machine is mounting the SSH folder onto the Docker Compose file too. And then here we see Postgres working. This is specified in the Docker Compose file. It's just showing how it saves and gets data. And here is an example. This is just an example of the C grader, but there is other graders that PrairieLearn contains. So here it just shows how a grade request happens, and it runs up the new Docker container with the C grader image. It runs it, and then it outputs a grade and sends it back to the Docker container, the PrairieLearn. And here to the right is a little more complex. So here is the nginx server, and it currently has two. So reverse proxy basically means nginx decides which server to send to you. So we have two servers set up in the sense where one is listening on port 80, which is the basic one that any server listens on for web. And when a end user requests that website with a regular port, it will send it to the other server, which is SSL certified, basically meaning that so you request a regular HTTP server, but nginx sends you diverts you basically to the SSL one, the HTTPS website. And with this certificate, it allows us to get Google Auth, but I'll explain that in a bit. So here, once nginx sends you to this, it verifies that it's a good connection, and it verifies the SSL key we have in there. And once we see that it works, so this server will send a request to the PrairieLearn Docker container, because it is running in the virtual machine, it is running on localhost 3000. But the way we wanted the end user to get to this is through nginx. So that's how nginx sends you to different types of steps to get to the actual Docker container. And once the Docker container connection is verified, it goes to Google Auth. This is when you get on the login screen, and Google Auth and Docker communicate with some logic in the back where we realize it pretty much just sends you to like Google Auth to make sure it's a authenticated user, and we have put the guard where only institution emails can work. So once you log in, now we get the end URL would be HTTPS, our IP or the website name, and you know you are logged into the secure PrairieLearn server. So that is how our whole backend or server is set up. So going back to this, and steps to complete the remote server setup is get virtual machine from ISU-ETG, set up SSH and VS Code environment, set up and run PrairieLearn in Docker, set up config file for PrairieLearn, generate SSL key and certificate requests for HTTPS, set up reverse proxy with nginx and SSL certification, set up authentication using Oauth and PrairieLearn, mount the course to the server, create the development environment, and create access for only institution emails. So to get the virtual machine from ISU-ETG, you just go to their website and fill out the request form, and I have linked it right here. And you just fill out the information. The turnaround time for that would be a couple hours. They're pretty quick with it. So next is setting up the SSH and VS Code environment. So here are all the steps. The quick steps are install VS Code, the extra extensions, and then set up SSH to be able to remotely connect to the virtual machine. Set up and run PrairieLearn in Docker. So what you need to do is just clone down from the repository from GitLab. You install Docker and use Docker compose file to using this file allows you to spin up the virtual machine from Docker. So next, setting up the config file. This pretty much helps you configure PrairieLearn and configure like all the authentication URLs. In the video, it'll be more detailed, and you're just going to be editing the Docker compose file to mount this file. Generate an SSL key and certificate request for HTTPS. So this will secure the server with HTTPS. Basically, if you go to your browser and you see the lock, that is HTTPS, and this encrypts information sent back and forth between the user and server. So here is set up reverse proxy with nginx and SSL certification. Using nginx with reverse proxy allows you to use HTTPS. And why nginx? It's because it's a simple way to reverse proxy and lots of documentation to follow. Setting up authentication. Oauth. We're using Oauth because it provides identification without sharing passwords, and we also set up authentication because of the PrairieLearn implementation and documentation is a path of least resistance for user accounts. So mounting the course, just a quick step is connecting the GitLab to the PrairieLearn Docker container. Creating the development environment, you just pull the code from GitLab and then run a local instance of PrairieLearn. Creating access for only institution emails. This allows authentication and security for ISU courses and ensures all users are ISU students. And the next video you're going to be watching is setting up the SSH and the VS Code environment. Thank you.